Well, folks, can you believe it? It's already a new year, and we're going to kick off that new year by going back 38 years to 1987 to see what folks were fishing. Now, 1987 was an awesome year for music, movies, pop culture, and fishing lures, as we're going to see here in just a little bit. But the box office was full of action-packed hits. Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop 2, RoboCop, and Crocodile Dundee. Okay, anyways, and then the music on top of that was awesome. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, NXS Kick. I mean, you had all sorts of things. Motley Crue, Girls, 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 Def Leppard, Hysteria, my wife's personal favorite, U2, Joshua Tree, and we were jamming all those out on these little things right here. Remember these cassette tapes? Remember making mixtapes? You put it in there, you push record, and hope that the song on the radio, you just hope it works. But man, what a bygone era. And if you're any kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, and you weren't fishing, okay? Let's just say that it was a rainy day. What were you doing? You were playing 8-bit Nintendo. Some of the hottest video games right here. Look at this Mario Brothers Duck Hunt. What's not to love about that? Or probably collecting junk wax baseball cards. Those were all the rage. Here's a Bo Jackson from 1987, Future Stars. It's just an awesome year. But even more radical than all that great stuff in 1987 were the fishing lures. So stick around, we're gonna jump right into that because you're gonna see some really cool lures, some gimmicks, and some trends. All right, let's go ahead and kick off this 1987 catalog. And if you see right here, I've got a lot of page markers. And the reason for that is there's 425 pages. If I was to go through every page, we'd be here until tomorrow. So I figured to make this more exciting, I'm just gonna go through the lures themselves, and we're gonna check out what I think are some trends and probably some gimmicks from 1987. So without further ado, let's kick it off. All right, so I figured before we jump into the catalog, I want to show you the first couple pages here. And this is pretty typical of most Bass Pro Shop catalogs. You've got a note from Johnny right here. You've got a little history from Bass Pro Shops, and obviously the index of the items in the catalog. Moving over to the next page, and what I love about these 80s catalogs is they are very proud of their outdoor world. And you get to see kind of everything they're showcasing here from, you can have fine dining, got lobster right there, and then you can go buy your rods and reels or get a little fishing education. But very cool to kind of see, what it was. And I mean, just look how 80s that family looks. But anyways, I thought that was pretty neat. Show you guys. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump over to the lures. And if I would have thought about it more, I probably would have done these tabs a little differently in order, so it'd be easier to find stuff. But I think this is the first. Here we go. So what we have here is the all-new multi-C-Lector. So what that is, it's a color C-Lector that's digital. If you don't know what that is, Dr. Lauren Hill came up with what's called the color C-Lector a few years before. And essentially, I'm going to show you here in 1 second. I'm going to bring one over here so you can take a little closer look. But you put this probe into the water, and depending on the depth and the water clarity, it picks what color lure you should be using. Well, this new one for 1987, we'll see if we can kind of get that glare out so you can see a little better. This one is all digitized now, and you got the pH, the temp, and then also the color as well too. So just a little more jazzed up version of the original color C-Lector there. And then we also have another one here that's kind of the same thing as what the original one was, but this one has also temperature and pH levels. So why don't we show you real quick what a color C-Lector is. So we got this nice little fancy dancy snazzy carrying case here. This one's a little dusty. You probably need to clean that off. This one I'll actually put on a boat here this spring, but whoever had this before, in fact, I think I put this on a video. They were pretty proud of this. I think I got this in a estate sale, and they actually, took some articles out of a magazine, but you put this on your boat. Here's your sticker for, your color C-Lector system right there. So this would have came out a few years before, 1984. Let's go ahead and pull this out of here. So here you have it, and as I can see, yeah, a little dirty, but that's okay. But you get the idea. So here is the color C-Lector system itself right here. The probe goes into the water, depending on how far down you go in depth. Clear, stained, muddy. This will tell you what color lure you should use depending on what the depth is. So, is it a gimmick? I don't know. I haven't used it enough to see if it really works or not. But you know what? I think this spring we'll put it to the test and see how well this thing works. So that's that. So you can see that we've got something new for 87, which is the new multi-C-Lector. There you go. All right, so before we put this away, I want to show you the carrying case. That's pretty awesome. But this goes back to what I was saying before, the trends from 1987. Now, was this a little gimmicky? Probably, but it was also a very big trend. And you can see that here at this 2-page spread of Color C-Lector specific lures. And so you see right here, just super vibrant hypercolor lures. And we'll just take a look at a couple of them up close. And you can see right here, here's the case that I had here, $9.99 for 87. But let's look at this. I mean, so here's one right here from Rebel. And you've got the stained shad right there. But you can see, just look at, I mean, look at how vibrant those colors are. I'm trying to get all this so you can kind of see it without the glare, if that's possible. Here, we'll do, maybe turn it that way. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. But yeah, here's a set of Color C-Lector lures. I think they're a lot of fun to collect. I'll never open this up. And as much fun as this is to collect, you got to think to yourself, how well did this actually work compared to were we really just trying to sell the fishermen to buying more lures? You know, probably. You know, I don't know that I see a whole lot of hyper-colored orange, you know, bait fish in the water, but hey, you never know. You know, I guarantee there's some science behind it. I guarantee depth level, water clarity, temperature, pH balance all go into effect when trying to pick your lure. But you know, some of these, I mean, it's a little bit of a marketing thing, but that's all right. You know, it's still fun. Now, by far my favorite Color C-Lector lure and soft plastic of all time has got to be the Rebel Redneck. And this was specifically made to be used with the Color C-Lector. In fact, look right here on this picture right up here. It's got the Color C-Lector in the background along with the Redneck. And basically what it is, it's this really cool, just super vibrant, soft plastic with this red, well, it looks like kind of a collar around it. But you're probably thinking to yourself, what in the heck is that supposed to be? Well, it's a water dog. It's supposed to be made to look like a mud puppy or a water dog. And essentially that's what that is. And but the attention to detail that they have on these, I mean, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see without the glare there, the eyes, I mean, they poke out like that, the collar on there, the color, I mean, everything is just incredible on this. Here, let me see. And the eye's even green. You see that? I mean, that much work to go into a soft plastic. What is there not to love about that? I love it. My favorite soft plastic of all time. And I'll show you one more real quick before we move on to some more kind of trends and lures from 87. But here's one from Norman. You can see just another variation. You've got, with the Rebel here, kind of more of a flat finish, you know, on these lures. Still very vibrant, whatever else. And with the Norman one, you got more of kind of a sheen on here, a little bit more detail on the scaling and things like that. Although these aren't too bad, you know, but it's got some scaling on it. But I think, you know, the Norman did a little better on the body work there. But yeah, you get a pretty good representation here of the Color C-Lector, what it is, and kind of what the trends were for that time. You know, before we move on, you know what? Norman did have a matte colored finish right here, and we can see that. I'm sure someone's going to correct me, so I just want to make sure that it's out there, that here's an example of a Norman one. It's a very vibrant blue on a matte finish, but here's that. So just want to make sure you guys saw that. And we're going to keep plugging away. We're going to skip through all the spinner baits. Not the most exciting stuff in the world, so we're just going to kind of breeze through those, and then we're going to stop at this page right here. All right, so you're probably thinking to yourself, why did you stop here? Nothing too exciting over here. It's just, you know, spinner baits. Well, for whatever reason, it looks like Strike King had an ad for new products in 87, right smack dab in the middle of all the spinner baits for whatever reason. So what I wanted to show you right here is the Spent Scout with living rubber tail feather. Okay, say that 5 times fast. And what's unique about this, okay? Why do I care? Why would I stop here? Well, what does that look like? And why we're queuing up the Jeopardy music, and you guys are thinking, why would I showcase that? Let me just show you the Spin Scout. And if you haven't seen my video on the Spin Scout, please check that out. But here's a typical Spin Scout right here, just so you get a little better idea. So here's, you know, the box that would have came in. There's old Billy Dance there on the side. But, you know, you got that really nice little fin down here. You got the double treble hook. Okay, so what made this different is this right here. Okay, Jeopard music's up. This is supposed to mimic an eel. And eels were all the rage in '87 as well too. You had the dancing eel, you had the tubby eel from Storm. You know, for whatever reason, eels were the jam in '87. So I just wanted to show you that. It's just you know, another trend of that time. You get to see the Spin Scout with living rubber tail feather to mimic an eel. So there you go. So there's a closer look. There's the lure. Okay, as we move on, we see here, just kind of showcasing this, man, buzz baits were all the buzz in '87. Buzz baits were huge back during this time, and we see multiple pages of buzz baits. And buzz bait's probably one of my favorite topwater. I mean, just when you get that reaction strike from a buzz bait, that is, I mean, I don't think there's anything better. I don't think there's anything better in topwater, but buzzbait specifically is a ton of fun as well here. I like this Whopper buzz right here. It looks like it's just a soft plastic rather than the skirted option that we're traditionally used to. I guess you could probably use a soft plastic frog or whatever else if you're doing the buzzbait, but that's a pretty neat one right there. But we'll just kind of keep cruising through. Here you got the Weed Walker. I've done some videos on these. Very cool. It's a skirted spoon essentially with a flap in the middle. But, you know, it could be considered really kind of a buzzbait, or at least in that same family. And we'll just keep moving. These are grubs. Let's see here, just smaller bass busters, things like that. Inline spinners. But we're gonna stick to the fun stuff. This is Uncle Josh. Man, that was hot back then as well. Spoons, and then we'll take a little break here. All right, so why did I stop at this page? Well, let's take a look at this right here. Uncle Buck's balsa baits. When you think balsa, you think Bagley, right? Well, this is really Bass Pro Shop's answer to Bagley. And if you look at the lures themselves, they look strikingly like a Bagley. And even down to the font, the balsa with the lowercase b here. Let's see if we can get the font right there. You see that? Apologize for that glare. I know it's we're doing our best here, folks. But let me just show you a quick Bagley representation right here. I mean, you see the Bagley font right here. Not really too far away from this balsa font right there. But here's an example of what that would look like. So this is really just kind of the Bass Pro Shop answer to the balsa baits. And really wood baits back in the, you know, this time period in the kind of mid-late 80s were kind of all the rage. You had Pose, which were cedar lures. You had these balsa baits right here. So, I mean, pretty popular for that time. But just thought that was interesting, and we'll keep moving on. So, and to back up my claim here, on the next page, we have the Timber Rattler, which is a wooden lure made by Heddon. So you can see that right there. So, there you have it. Let's keep moving. All right, these next few pages are the order form. Remember that, though? Remember filling something out and sending it in and the anticipation on waiting on getting it back? I mean, it was just a simpler time. What's not to love about that? We've got some kind of gimmick items that they're trying to sell you. Looks like they've got some gift certificates, things like that. So there's this toll-free number, call to make your order. And then, okay, now we're over here to Heddon lures. And a lot of these really are just kind of the classic favorites from Heddon. You got the Torpedo over here, and I actually made a video about that if you want to watch that. But here is the Torpedo, and they have a few different sizes and variations of that. You've got one of my favorite lipless, which is the Sonic. It's a downsize, basically a lipless with it's got this really nice fin on there, just scoots through the water. It's got a little weight there on the front end, but just kind of digs down and just... That was a horrible representation. Is that what we're doing? That's what it does. Anyhow, we're gonna keep moving. And then, you know, who doesn't love the Big Bud? Basically just a Budweiser can with a lip and a tail spin. You know, what more do you need? I'm sure the fish will go for it. All right, here we got some lures from Rebel, and I think a lot of us are familiar with the Cross series, but if you're not, here's an example of what one of those would have looked like, and really just the attention to detail on these. Not only just the coloring, the graphics, but I mean, even the eyes kind of stick out there a little bit too. Just a very realistic looking craw lure. Very nice, very nice. And you can see you got different variations as well too. They have one that's basically the exact same thing, but it's a frog. And you can see how it has, how the craws are doing this. Well, the legs are doing that on the frog pattern right there. And speaking of frogs, we've also got the Buzzin' Frog that's been around for a minute. Here's an example of what that would have looked like right here. So you can see just a really nice prop style topwater, and really a pretty decent size topwater lure. But I mean, this is going to stir up some water, and hey, it's going to get the buzz. It's going to get the buzz out for all the fish to come strike and attack that. Now we're going to stop on this page for a second because we've got one which, hey, you know what? This falls into the, is this a gimmick or not? And also a trend. And that is none other than the Rebel Black Star, new for 1987. And let's go ahead and just take a little deeper dive right there. Boom, you can see that, got the glare away. But let's go ahead and see this lure up close. All right, so if you see the ad here, it says we're entering a new era of fishing technology. Well, why is that? And I'll explain that here in just one second. But let me show you what it looked like new and packaged back in 1987. This one's copyright 1986, but the packaging would have been the same as it would have been in 1987. And we have right here, it's the exact same color that's in the ad. We have the chartreuse, but just a very cool looking lure. So why is this so quote unquote innovative? Well, the line tie is molded with graphite, and the claim is that combined with a graphite rod, and here's the line tie right here, that the angler can detect any action during retrieval. Now, I would say that's a little bit of a gimmick and a pretty bold claim considering the line that you're probably using back in 1987, which is, let's see if we can find it here. Try to mark it. Basically, your monos. You're using a monofilament. You know, how heavy is the line? What are you throwing out there? How sensitive is that? Certainly not as good as line that we have today. So, I don't know. You know what? They're throwing it out there. They're using terms like graphite and, you know, technology and things like that to probably lure in the fishermen a little bit. But you know what? I'm sold 100%. I love the lure. I love the way this looks. The other thing about this lure that was kind of the gimmick, if you will, and also a trend at the time as well too, because we'll see more of these in some upcoming pages, is what they say is molded into the lure. The way that the color is molded into this lure amplifies the light. So the fish are going to see a brighter flash of color because of the way that this is molded. Who knows? You know what? Let's be honest. I don't know if that's how true that is or not. But I don't care. I think it looks cool. So I guess really the only thing we need to do at this point is put it on the water. So this spring we'll fish this. Got to have a graphite rod too. Got to make sure I'm fishing it all with all the right stuff. And probably even use some mono just to make sure that we're really kicking it back to the old school to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. But listen, at the end of the day, as a collector, as someone who just really appreciates fishing lures, I think this is a very cool looking lure. I think it's a fun one to collect, and certainly just a little piece of fishing history. So we'll move on just for the sake of time. We've got some Rebel Naturals right here. Here's kind of an example of what that would look like. This is the bait fish series, little bluegill right there. But we'll keep cruising just so we're not taking up 2 or 3 hours. We got all right, Cordell right here. Everybody loves Cordell, the Big O, classic favorite. Here, we'll move this up so people can kind of see. I want you guys to see what's going on here. Got more from Cordell. And then we've got some man's lures right here. And a lot of stuff that they've had around for quite some time. But here's one right here. Do you know who Leroy Brown is? Well, that was Tom Mann's famous pet bass. And that thing was a monster. In fact, I think there's a statue of him somewhere, and I'll have to look that up. I'll have to do a little bit more history on that. But he was the world's most famous bass for quite some time. Leroy Brown. All right, we're going to make a little pit stop here at the Bill Norman Lures page right here. And what's ironic about this is that I just showed the Rebel Black Star, and actually Bill Norman worked for Rebel way back in the day. And what's cool about this reflecting deep little N new for 87 is it also claims, just like the Black Star, that it has molded technology that allows these lures to have a quote-unquote neon glow in the water. So much like the Black Star, the way that it was molded, the light going through it, they kind of have the same claim here with the reflecting deep little N. So I just thought that was, you know, hey, Rebel's doing it, Norman's doing it, everyone's doing it. This is just, you know, another thing that we have in common in 1987. So we'll just keep on moving for the sake of time. Breeze through the Rapala, and we'll stop here at another trend, and I just mentioned this earlier, and that is none other than the eel. All right, so we'll stop and take a closer look at the tubby eel. If you don't know anything about the tubby tackle, please check out my video about that. I got a whole video on tubby tackle, and they've got a few different varieties. They have the Lil Tubby, as they say, the DDT, which is the deep diving tubby, and then the tiny tubby. And then we see the addition here in 1987 of the tubby eel, which we've seen from other lures that obviously the eel was a pretty hot commodity back during that time. Pretty good little trend there. So we have traditional tubby eel right here, and then we also have the deep tubby eel, which if we're just kind of comparing the two side by side right here, we see the lip sizes, and we'll see if I can get that without the glare. But you can see this one obviously has a much longer lip than that one. These had a replaceable tail, that's why they came with these two tails, so you can put that on. But even if you wanted to put like a curly tail on here, like the traditional tubbies would have came with, you could have done that. But essentially they're repackaging the original tubbies into an eel. And so that's pretty much that. But gotta love Storm. What's not to love about Storm? It's, you know, over-exaggerated, cartoon-esque type lures. Just a lot of fun, vibrant colors. Fantastic lures. Always love those. And then we're moving over to the next page, which is by far the most popular of all the eel lures of the 80s. And that is Dance's eel. That's Bill Dance's eel right here. Now, I don't have one new in package. I believe I did, and I probably sold it on eBay. But what I do have, I have the Dance's Craw, which is new for 87. And so that's what this would have looked like right here. I mean, basically what this was, it was just they called it a hydrofoam, and it was a really realistic approach in the water, and these tentacles would kind of do all the work in the water. There's an example of what a Dance's Craw would look like, and you see they had a few different colors right here, but here's the ad for that for 87. But fun lure. I mean, this thing is a beast of a lure. You're going for the big bass when you're throwing this puppy. This is, you know, about the size of my palm. That's a pretty hefty little craw there. So, well, not really so little. Alrighty. So we're moving on to the next page here. I had to stop this one right here, and that is the producers. Now, let's see if I can get this little sticky tab off. There we go. Now, what are the producers? I mean, nothing more than a knockoff lure, let's be honest. So what these lures right here lacked in quality, they certainly gained in marketing and advertising. And here's an example right here. What is not to love about this? You can tell just right off the bat, the lure, let's be honest, it's probably just garbage. It'll catch fish, don't get me wrong. It's just not the quality of the name brand stuff. But what's great about it is the packaging on this. I mean, you got old Willie right here, you know, puffing a heater, having a cold one, you know, back when you could put stuff like that on packaging. And they go by sizes too, like they got like a size 3, size 2. And here's kind of a smaller one too, which is a size 1. And each lure had their own individual character. And I've got a ton of different characters, but I'm just going to show you these two just for the sake of time. But you see, this is the Hookster Magnum. And you can see the spoon quality, and even, you know, the spoon itself is, I don't know, it looks pretty generic, really. But what you're getting here is, you know, you got grandma pointing out, you know, the spoon here, like, hey, this is, you need this. So I just think, you know, for a corny little cheap lure, what they did with this cartoon, these figures, is outstanding. And really, look, I mean, look at the cartoon figures. That looks like the 80s, like the late 80s. I mean, the cartoon, I feel like a lot of cartoons have that kind of look, over-exaggerated eyes and kind of weird smiles. Really, I mean, kind of creepy and cool at the same time. But I had to stop and show you those just because, you know, they were popular lures in the 80s. I mean, these are from 84, but obviously they're still advertising here in 87 as well. And we'll keep moving along. All right, we'll stop here at the Bagley page. I know a lot of people love Bagley. It's highly collectible and not a whole lot of new stuff really per se. What you do see is a new Magnum that came out, and really there's a few companies that looks like kind of came out with more Magnum style lures. Like you got the Magnum Wart here, and you got this Magnum DB3. But that's pretty much it for Bagley, but I know a lot of people like to see it, so we're just gonna make sure everybody gets to see all this stuff. And we'll keep plugging away. It looks like we got the Arbogast, the Jitterbug. If you watch my channel, I'm sure you saw my Jitterbug video just recently that just came out. If you haven't, please check that out. I think you guys would enjoy it. But a lot of great history. Lure's been around for quite some time. Fantastic. I've also done a Buck Perry Spoonplug. There is certainly a following for folks that do spoon plugging, and it's really interesting how that works. I have a video on that as well too, so check that out. And we'll just keep cruising through just for the sake of time. Now I'll stop on this page real quick, and this is a Whopper Stopper page, and nothing too crazy on here except for there was another lure that I think kind of falls into the same thing as, you know, the Black Star, or, you know, the Norman lure, and that's this one right here. It's the Rip and Rattler. I don't have a Rip and Rattler, but it's the same type of concept of, you know, showing that innovative flash. And what this one does, it's a clear plastic lure, it's a lipless crankbait, more or less, and then you buy these flash inserts to go inside. So that's new for 87 from Whopper Stopper. And we'll breeze through a lot of these. Some of these are just a lot of spoons and kits and sets and things like that. We get into the soft plastics, and we'll stop at a couple of them here. All right, we're getting into the Mr. Twister, and I just did a video about Mr. Twister, and we've got one right here. This is the split double tail. So you get an example of kind of what that will look like right here. That would have been new in package from 87. The split double tail. Still got the packaging right there. Nothing crazy exciting about that. But what I did want to show you on the next page, which I think is very cool, and this is the Man's Auger Snake. And I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. Now, the snake is nothing new for 87. In fact, the Snatrix is kind of a little bit of a trend. This is an older one from Norman called the Snatrix. But the Auger Snake is very, I think in my opinion, a pretty realistic styled soft plastic. I mean, look at the head on that. Very nice, good detail on that. I mean, a pretty cool soft plastic there. You see it says Man's. That's probably upside down on the tail, and the other side will say Auger Snake. But nice little snake style soft plastic from Man's. We're going into the next page here. We'll probably actually go a few pages down. You see another one, another snake style. This is the water moccasin. it's just cool to see the trends throughout time that, you know, we don't see snakes really anymore, but we saw a lot of them back then. Just like the eels or, you know, some of these, I guess, molded color flash series lures. But here's another one too. This one I think is awesome. I don't have one. I would love to get one of these, but essentially what it is, the snake bait. And this is from Burke. And Doug Hannon came up with this. Essentially, you put a soft plastic lure on a hook, and then what they have is this snake head topper that would go in front to give it that, you know, kind of lifelike look of a snake. That's pretty awesome. I'd like to find one of those. I haven't really even looked for them. I'm sure they're on eBay somewhere, but that would be pretty cool to try that, make a video on that, see how well that works. And then obviously my favorite, we've talked about this one earlier in the video, and this is the Rebel Redneck. Well, that's going to do it for the lures in this episode. As I told you before, there's a lot of pages here, and it would just take a ton of time to go through everything. But, you know, hey, as a car lover, I got to stop and show you this. Look at this sweet 87 Forerunner. Looks like this ad is from 86 or maybe even 85, but this is back when the Forerunner was awesome. It had a removable top back then. Oh, this would be a lot of fun to have one of these. Although I'm a Bronco and Blazer guy, I'd probably get one of those first, but I'll tell you what, if I ran across one of these at a decent price, wouldn't say no. Wouldn't say no. So that's going to do it for the 1987 Bass Pro Catalog. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Angling Archaeology, where we unearth the good old days. I want to thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, and if you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for the big growth in 2024. We're hoping for more of that in 2025. We've got a lot of fun stuff heading your way. And hey, if you haven't checked it out already, please do check out my eBay page, Angling Archaeology. We've got a lot of vintage lures, or as we talked about earlier in this video, let's say it's a rainy day and you want a vintage Nintendo. Got a few of these up there as well too. So anything old school, I got it on there. Check it out. Or if you want some Angling Archaeology merch, I also have that as well too. We've got this really cool 8-bit bass t-shirt, or some other stuff, you know, some vintage inspired things like this garage beers, because when you're drinking in the garage, you know, you can be whisked away to anywhere you want to be. So, garage beers, check it out. So thank you all again. I look forward to the next episode of Angling Archaeology, where we explore some vintage fishing finds. We'll see you around. Thanks for watching Angling Archaeology, where we unearth the good old days. Don't forget to like and subscribe.